Good evening, folks. I hope you had a good Christmas, and if you don't celebrate Christmas, then I hope at least you enjoyed the time off we get at this time of year. But we're now in that sort of lull between Christmas and the New Year, and you know, my family's all gone home and they've got nothing really to do until I go back to work, so I thought I'd do a quick video this evening. Now, I'm going to have a project coming up in the next few weeks. I'm waiting on a couple of pieces coming from China, but once that's all together, we'll have a look at that. Now, part of the project is going to require a display. Now, I'm not sure whether to use an LCD display like this, an OLED display, or maybe even just a 7-segment LED display, you know, a bank of 7-segment LED displays. But I thought we'd take a look at this one, which is a fairly common display this evening. It's the Hitachi HD44780 based LCD display. These are just an alphanumeric display. You'll see them in lots of products, lots of consumer electronics such as photocopiers and printers and, you know, fax machines, and you know, and sort of more industrial type stuff and business type stuff. You can see them in fire panels and intruder alarms, stuff like that. They're a really common display, and they've been around for maybe 20 or 30 years now. So because people know how they work and because they're relatively cheap, they do get implemented in many products. But for you as the hobbyist to implement in a project, say for instance using an Arduino or something like that, they're actually they're not difficult to interface, but they're just untidy. As you can see, we've got 16 connections on here. I think in an Arduino, when you're trying to drive this with an Arduino, you may be up to sort of 8 or 9 connections you have to make, so you're looking at a bit of ribbon cable or lots of wires, and it's just a bit untidy and a bit annoying, really. So yeah, I just thought I'd talk about how we can interface this. Now I should explain, this is a 1602, so it's 16 digits across by 2 rows high. They do come in various other sizes. For instance, a 2004, unsurprisingly, is 20 characters by 4 rows, and they do come in another couple of sizes. But like I say, they're actually quite untidy, you know, and quite annoying to interface, really. There's a contrast setting which is set by a potentiometer, and then that's an additional piece of, you know, unless you can't essentially just plug this straight into an Arduino, you have to have either a small piece of PCB or a bit of breadboard or something like that to put other components in to make it work. And that's how it used to be until I discovered these. If I just get it out. Yeah, it's this. It's a little sort of converter board, if you want to call it that. And what it does is utilises the I2C protocol, which is a serial protocol, and it uses just 4 connections. So we've got our ground, VCC, we've got our serial data and our serial clock line there. And quite simply, all we do is pop this board into the LCD display, solder it up, and then we can connect it directly to an Arduino using 4 wires, and that's all it takes. So the data comes in using that I2C protocol. This little board decodes it and then outputs the appropriate data on the appropriate pins to display what would normally take us 7 or 8 pins to do, using an Arduino and all the other little ancillary components. So yeah, I thought we'd just solder this up, and what I'll do is I'll not give you a tutorial on how to program Arduino. All I'm going to do is basically program an Arduino with a basic, you know, a little basic script to display some data on there. Excuse me, and you know, we'll cover it in more depth in a future video. Now, I have used these boards on the 2004 LCD display. Now, looking here, it fits perfectly on here. There's no risk of shorts, but on the 2004s that I have, I don't have any free just now, because I've put these boards on the back of them all. But certainly on the ones I have used, these little retaining tabs for the sort of metal shield here, those do short on the back of the board, on specifically these 2 pins here, ground and VCC. So you do have to sort of bend these slightly to get them in place so they don't short out the board. But as you can see there is clearance all the way around, and there's nothing shorting at that side either. Definitely worth, if you're going to be using these, definitely worth putting a small piece of cardboard or some kind of insulating material underneath, just to prevent that from happening. So I'll just turn on the iron just now, and then we'll get that soldered on. Now, just while the iron's heating up, I got a lot of these little boards. I got 10, including delivery to the UK, for £3.30 off AliExpress. So really good value. So they're working out around 30, just over 30 pence each, which is really good. The displays themselves, back in the day, I say back in the day, maybe about 5 or 10 years ago, when I was buying these displays, I was paying for a 1602 probably some of the order about £4 or £5. For the bigger, the 20-digit 4-line displays, you were looking up to £10 or £12 sometimes. You can get these off AliExpress now for just 90 pence, including delivery to UK. So really, really good value. And like I say, really simple to implement when you're just using these 4 lines. So the iron's more than heated up now. And if you've seen my other soldering videos, sorry, I should say, where I've been soldering IC holders or ICs straight into PCB, the best thing to do is just to solder one of the end pins. And what that allows you to do is, as you can see, the board is sort of slightly at an angle there. But what we can do is we can just sort of reflow that, if you like, whilst applying a little bit of pressure to keep it level. And as you can see now, that board is completely level. It's not touching the other board, and you know, that's going to reduce the risk of any shorts in the future. So what we'll do is we'll just tack this up now, and just get all the connections made. In fact, rather than awkward silence, I'll just pause the video and I'll come back to you once I've done it. See you in a moment. Hi there, welcome back. Right, there we have it. There's a little board soldered on there, nice and neat and tidy. And what I did while I was away was I programmed this Arduino Nano just with a bit of text on there. And these Nanos, you can buy these little adapter boards from AliExpress for about 40p. They're really good just for a prototype. And if you don't like using breadboards, I don't particularly like using breadboards, but you know, this is really handy for me because you can just plug it in and it breaks out all the pins onto nice little screw terminals, which are quite handy. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, I don't have any female connectors, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tack onto the back of the board, onto the back of the connector, I should say, and I'm going to do it right at this at the right angle, if you like, and that will just allow us to take it off again in the future once we've got a proper connector. So let's see, just tin those slightly. Maybe a bit too much there. And we'll just pop a little bit of ribbon cable here that I've already tinned. We'll just fire that onto the back of the connector. So use brown for ground. Now, a problem we may have with this is the address might be wrong in the script I've uploaded onto the Arduino, so I might need to stop the video and just verify what the address is of the display board. Essentially, it's got a unique identifier which identifies the board, because the thing with I2C is you could have multiple devices sharing these 4 wires, and each device has a unique address, so that the information that's been sent out by the Arduino goes to the right device, if that makes sense. So because I've programmed the Arduino for another display, it may mean that I need to let's say stop and just double check that. So let's put this together. So ground is obviously going to go to ground, like so. VCC is going to go to 5 volts, and then our serial data, which is the orange line, will go to pin A4. And our clock line, which is the yellow, will go to pin A5. And we'll just tighten those up. Now hopefully, fingers crossed, this should work. So just get a little mini B USB cable hooked up to mains power supply. And as we can see, the screen has come on. There is no data being displayed. Now what that could be, if you remember me saying before, there's no external components required with this, it's directly connected onto the Arduino. But what we've got on there is we've got a little contrast potentiometer there. So if I just adjust that, we can see that it's not working. So we can see that the display is displaying something, but it's not displaying the text that I programmed into this. So what I'm going to do now is, like I say, I'll pause the video, I'll go and check the address of the display, and then we'll come back to it. Bear with me. Okay folks, welcome back. Right, plugged the Arduino in, got the address for this display. It was indeed different, 0x27, whereas the larger one that I was testing it with was 0x3f. So yeah, just changed the address. Programmed it, plugged it in, and when you see when it turns on, there's just a lot of random characters. So I thought that's a bit strange. So what I did was I took one of those other 2 displays I've got, put another board on, and if I disconnect it, and I'll emphasise the fact that you must disconnect it, because I had a little bit of a fail a moment ago, but I'll show you that in a second. We will desolder the leads off, and we'll put them on this other display here. Like so, hopefully you saw that. And of course you know what's going to happen, it's going to work, he says. There you go. So I just programmed that just to display a little bit of text, and it's working fine. So either there's a problem with this driver board, or there's a problem with this display. Now I have had this display lying around for a number of years, so it might just be a dodgy display. Of course it could be one of these 30p boards, but never mind, it is working, as you can see there. Now the little fail I had, which I will tell you about, when I was swapping over the boards to test the other one, I thought, why not, I'll not bother disconnecting it. Desoldered it and managed to short the board out, the nano that is, and yeah, it fried this little diode here, so really bad bodge there. I just put a little bit of Kina, just branched that diode there, so I'll probably just replace that at some point. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend plugging this into a computer in that state. But yeah, it is does seem to be working. Just a little bit strange, so I'm gonna have to do a bit of investigation on that board. Sorry, this board and display together. I'll try one of the other boards and see if it works. If not, you know, let's say it's only a quid or so. But that's it. Thanks very much for watching. If you found it useful, as always, please, and I'll see you again soon for another video. Take care. Bye bye. Hi folks, just a little quick bolt-on video. You saw at the end of the video the random text being displayed on this LCD, and I suspected either the display itself or the little IC squared sort of converter board, if you like. So quick and dirty bodge, I basically tacked another one of these onto the back, soldered it up, and the display worked fine. So what I should really have done was check the board first, but there was a suspect joint down here on the actual IC on the board, and I just basically applied a little bit of solder to all the sort of connectors or connections on this little IC here, and lo and behold, it is now working. So if you do buy these boards, they maybe are 30p for a reason. They're not the best build quality, but if you do get a similar problem like that, then just double check these little boards and make sure that you know, the connections are good. Quite obvious on these little resistors and that, but not so much on the IC. So just check that if you need to resolve any issues with random text displaying on your LCD. Anyway, hopefully that helped, and I'll catch you again soon. Cheers, bye.